How's it going, guys? Welcome back to 5280 Driven. Now today we are going over the top 5 things for car guys that you must have in your garage. Now, this is stuff that I have acquired over time. It's not something you have to go get immediately. It's not something you need to wrench on cars. Now, I will say, like, the first thing I ever had was I got like a $25 ratchet set from Walmart, and I still use it to this day. That was over like 12 years ago. So they've been very useful. Now this is other stuff that's gonna be useful to you, that is gonna make wrenching on an everyday basis so much easier, more enjoyable, and just, you know, if you're the DIY guy, it's gonna make stuff faster for you too, because you know how time consuming some of this stuff can be. Now let's get into it. All right, number one thing that car guys must have, and that is a good toolbox. Now you can have it any shape or size. I went with this one here because honestly, I'll show you. There's a number of different reasons why this toolbox just is so good for me. Now, the first thing that is important is a work surface. This surface helps out so much, and it's just, if you're taking stuff out from the car and you need somewhere to set it, you have a place to set it. The other thing is to say, you know, when you are working on a car, it's great when you are working in it and you're not really removing anything. But if you remove a turbo like I did, and you need somewhere to work on that turbo outside of the car, this is the place to do it. It makes the world of difference. And on top of that, if you do stuff like this where you set up your charging docks for your batteries, and then even something like this for my jumper box, that makes a world of difference too. And the biggest thing I could say about a toolbox is make sure you get one that's big enough to hold all of your tools. Because, I mean, I probably have this box about 90% filled, and this particular drawer is, well, it's short on space. But I mean, it houses stuff from all of my sockets to my impact sockets, to my wrenches, to my pneumatic impact guns down here, and then I have my, you know, my small impact, my ratchet or my electric ratchet, and then the batteries, flashlights, all kinds of stuff in this. And I mean, there's a lot of room. And I do have a lot of tools, but compared to some of my friends, I mean, they have toolboxes that are twice the size of this. I mean, here's the other thing. If you have a deep drawer like this, you can keep your screwdrivers, your impacts, and all that stuff in here, or even stuff like this. This is, you know, where I keep most of my detail stuff, and, you know, most of my chemicals as well. I mean, if you want to know, this is actually what I use to keep my tools in, and it's just a small little box, and that did really good for, you know, 5-7 years, especially when I lived in an apartment. I couldn't have something, you know, this big. Now, the other thing that's a plus about this, and if you want to see here, soft closing drawers. That doesn't sound important until you have organization like this, and you have all of your impacts standing up, and you go and close it. Well, it slows it down and it dampens it. And look at that, everything's still standing. Other thing to think about is, you know, does it come with a place to plug in all of the stuff that you're charging? I mean, this one does, and I still have a couple of extra sockets there, and plus it has 2 USB ports. That makes a big difference. That's, you know, makes a world of difference too, and it also makes it, you know, a little bit cleaner. You have less wires going to places. Now, this toolbox I got at Home Depot, and I absolutely love it. I mean, I couldn't imagine working in a garage without something like this ever again. And it's made by Husky, and they do make some great quality stuff. And the reality is that this is probably gonna last me quite a while, and I don't ever think I'll replace it. It does have a replaceable work surface, so if I do scratch it, like here's a couple of small scratches here, so whatever. But if I ever need to replace the surface because it's so worn out, they offer that. Just the amount of room that you can save by having like this in organization, and how much easier it is to work on a car with a toolbox that's just right for your situation, and organization makes the biggest difference too. All right guys, number 2 on our list is gonna be good lighting. Now, most people, obviously they're gonna have an incandescent bulb up there on the ceiling, which is great. And you can change those out and put brighter ones in. But overall, when you have the hood on the car and you're working on the engine bay here and you've got something on, or even if you're under the car, something like this will make the world of difference. Now, this is a hood mounted light. You can see it's got rubber here, so it's not gonna scratch the car. It just clamps on the outside of it there on each side of the hood. Makes a big difference there when you're working on the vehicle. It's one less thing you have to hold. Now, the thing I love about this light, overall, the whole light itself, 40 inches long. The whole assembly is 65. On top of that, this company, Saber, which is an awesome name, especially if you're a Star Wars fan, that's cool. Now, the big thing with it is that it is rechargeable. Now, you could plug in and charge it up, or you can use it while it's charging as well. That's the big versatility of it. Now, you could check how much battery level is on it, and then you have 2 stage of lights, so you could go half or you could go on, and it's 2,000 lumens full on. Half is, I think it's 1,300 lumens, and that's a ridiculous amount of light. Now, the other thing I love about it is it pivots. So if you're working on the front of the car here, you can shine all the light towards this, or you can shine more of it back there. It is a floodlight, but it is a little bit more directional, so you can focus on what you want. Now, I mean, here's what it looks like just on normal without the light on. And you put that guy on there, it just makes a world of difference. There's so much more light. You can see what you're doing. And for guys that are like me that video record, lighting is important. So guys, number 3 is a power washer. So you can see this is mine right here. And well, brand familiar, Husky. Now, I did not buy this one. Actually, a weird thing is my best friend got it from his neighbor before he moved out of state and said, you know what, I have no use for it. And we did a little bit of work on it, got it to fire up, and it works amazingly. So this one's about 2,200 PSI, which is great. I will say probably 3,000 or like 3,300, somewhere in there is about ideal for what you're doing more than just cars. Like, this garage is filthy, and when it's done snowing, as it tends to do in April in Colorado, I'll clean this out and make everything look just perfect. So, big thing I do love about having a power washer is a foam cannon. Now, I'll insert some video of me using the foam cannon on the Volvo and on the bike and the Explorer. I mean, the reality of it is it makes car washing so much easier, and there's so many advantages of having something like this. Now, the big thing I will say is you don't need a power washer or this crazy of a power washer to have a foam cannon. You can get sets that attach to your hose and just use from a normal hose off the spigot of your house. The reality of it is something like this with a power washer is gonna make the biggest difference to you. Number 4 is for everybody that lives in a cold climate. You know, winter is not fun working on cars, but that's when we seem to start working on our projects and when we do our bigger projects. And a small heater like this guy is gonna make a world of difference to you. So you can see how I have it set up. I do have a 5-gallon propane tank hooked up into it, but you can do it in a number of different ways. You can have those small propane canisters to use for camping. You can hook it on each side here, and that makes it more portable, makes it easier to stow, and you can do a lot of different things with it. Now, this is just more than just being a garage heater for you guys. You could use it for camping, you could use it indoors to save the power when out in the house. This guy will be able to warm up the house for you. Now, it does burn clean, so you don't have to worry about, suffocating or anything like that.
Now, it does have a lot of safety features, so if it gets knocked over, it turns itself off. If it senses low oxygen, it turns itself off. So many useful things with this. Now, I did get this off of Amazon, and when I say I mean my girlfriend got it for me as a gift, and I use it a lot more than she realizes. So this is something I'm gonna link below, and it makes it a little bit different. Just to show you guys how easy this thing is to use. So basically it has an off, pilot, low and high, or low, medium and high. And basically all you do is let it sit in the pilot for a second or two. And then you see the pilot light come on right there. And then just turn it to high and let it warm up. Now, depending on the area you need it, you can adjust what level you want it on. So if you're in a smaller spot, you can put it on medium or low. Or if you're just trying to get something warmed up quick, throw it on high and then back it down. You can see it's a couple of seconds and the thing's already starting to get red and warm up. And simple as this, when you're done with it, you're using something like this guy here. Come over, turn it off, and then just let it run through the rest of the fuel that's in the line. Let it cool off, and you can put it away. Simple as that. Number 5 is gonna be a jack and jack stands. Now this stuff is important because if you're gonna change your oil, if you're gonna do your brakes, if you're gonna change your winter tires to your summer tires, if you're gonna do any of that kind of stuff, you need to get the vehicle in the air and you need to support it while it's in the air. So this is gonna be the stuff you need. A really good jack, and I've had this one for a long time. This is a professional grade jack. Now it is a little, it's been used and abused. And when I got it, I rebuilt it and I've used it quite frequently since, and it does need another rebuild and some new seals and all that. But the other thing you need to get is quality jack stands. And I say quality because you need to trust this stuff with your life. Now, don't go to Harbor Freight and get that stuff, and nothing wrong with Harbor Freight and some of their tools, but if you're crawling under a vehicle, you want to make sure this stuff is going to hold it up. Now that's a big thing. These guys here, they are 3 tons. The other ones are 2 tons. Now that's something to keep in mind. You know, how big is your vehicle? How heavy is it? How tall? And that's all the stuff you need to think about when you're getting a set of jack stands. Now you don't have to get 4 like I do, but it makes the job somewhat easier. Plus the other thing is if you need the whole vehicle off or up in the air like you're doing exhaust, or I had to do a drive shaft on a Volvo a long time ago, this stuff will make the job so much easier because you're not jacking up one side of the vehicle at a time. The big thing with it is if you have a lifted vehicle, or if you're working on a pickup that's 1500 or 2500, probably should just get 6-ton jacks. That would make your life a lot easier because A, they're taller, and B, they handle a lot more weight. Now, the other thing you need to focus on, this is a 2-ton jack. That's equivalent to 4,000 pounds. So lifting 4,000 pounds, that's where its max capacity is. Now, think of it this way. The Volvo itself is 4,800 pounds. And if I'm only jacking up one end of the vehicle, you would think it's a 50-50 in the way you're jacking it up. I would say probably not. I would say that this jack is probably a little underrated for the Volvo. Would probably be a little bit better for something like a Miata or something like that. But it definitely gets the job done. And it's a low profile jack. So in reality of it, I mean, it's only getting stuff in the air, and then these guys take over to hold it up. And that is gonna be the biggest thing you gotta think about, is can your jack and your jack stands handle the weight of your vehicle? Sweet guys, now you think we're done here. I have one bonus thing to show you. And it is gonna be something that will make everything a little less mundane and probably help bring up the morale when you're working on cars, especially when you're frustrated. All right guys, bonus item is gonna be the radio. So that is gonna be a real big piece here. Now, if it's just quiet and all you have to do is listen to yourself think, well, it gets kind of boring. A good radio or a good podcast or YouTube or something like that, something that, you know, is background noise, actually goes a long ways. And the reality of it is you're turning something that's mundane, like working on this and pulling a turbo out or the alternator or you name it. It makes it so much better with good music or a good podcast, something to listen to. The other thing I have learned is headphones do make a big difference. But the hard thing is headphones fall out of your ears, and when you have grimy hands and stuff, the last thing you want to do is be putting those gross, greasy hands back in your ear trying to push that headphone back in. So something like this makes it so much better. Now you don't have to go crazy with it either. I mean, most people put a home theater system in it, which is amazing. But I wanted to go something compact, and this thing's still loud. And it gets the job done, and it makes stuff so much better to work on cars or just tinker or even clean the garage. I mean, you can crank this thing up pretty loud and still be cleaning and having the power washer going and still hear music. That just makes jobs and little projects so much better.
Awesome, guys. That is 5 items plus a bonus item on what car guys must have in their garage. Now, from a toolbox with a work surface to a good radio to an amazing light to a jack in stands to a great heater. These items are going to make your life so much easier, make mundane jobs so much better, and then the quality of work that you're doing is going to be better too. From you can see what you're doing, you're enjoying working on the project because you got good tunes, and the stuff is cleaner because you got a really good power washer. Now, if you guys have any questions or anything that you want to know about or know a little bit more about, ask me, comment below, like, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff. Now, I am going to put links to the stuff that I have got here, to the heater, to the light, some of the stuff that I bought online, I'll put links to it. As far as the jack, that guy actually got it work, so I don't have a link to that, but I mean, you go to your hardware store, you go to Harbor Freight, get a good jack stand. Maybe not Harbor Freight quality, maybe something a little bit better, because you are going to trust your life with it. But again, guys, until next time, I'll see you later.